Okay. Welcome everyone to, actually, this is going to be my first live version of this, but I've been doing a lot of these sort of webinars as if they're podcasts. So I decided, hey, it might be a good idea to take that to the next level and actually start talking to some of our wonderful travel advisors out there. I use the word travel advisors intentionally, and I think as we go through the podcast, everybody's going to start to appreciate why that's so important to me. And I think it should be important to us all in the industry. But today I have a very special guest, and this is the idea of the program going forward. If you don't know much about the Jimmy Buffett history, I guess, I'll give you a little bit of background. Barometer Soup is a concept that in the song that Jimmy Buffett wrote, it talks a little bit about that being about people who are sort of setting the trends or sort of mapping out the way for us. And a barometer is also something that's an indicator of what's happening. And soups have been used for sort of a reference to talk shows and things like that for a long time. So here we have it. We're talking to someone who's setting a trend, hopefully. And we're going to just banter about a few different things in the industry, and we'll see how it goes. So my guest today is a travel advisor named Cameron. So Cameron, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? A little bit about your agency, a little bit about where you're located, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so my name is Cameron. I am the president and CEO of Cruise Conquer Travel Agency. It is a part of KHM Travel Group. So we are affiliated with KHM, and I am actually living here in Tampa, Florida. So I run everything out of my home office pretty much.
But you're not alone. You have a network of people that you're working with, so that's good. How important is it, to be connected with the right host agency? There's a lot of options out there. Must be a lot of decision making going on as you're trying to weigh out all your options. But what are some of the things that made you lean towards maybe KHM as an option?
Absolutely. So a few years ago, when I was actually looking into those, I had actually a spreadsheet, and there was about 9 or 10 different services on there and I kept going through and just comparing them. And one of the biggest things is I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, so I was kind of looking for one that was based in Ohio. I really liked that, and KHM was the first one that stuck out to me. And started looking into them, started talking to them before I made the decision, and just everything that they supply for the travel advisors. They are a very, very large organization that has tons and tons of help out there. So, they have a marketing team, an assistance team for us. So they have all of these people that are just dedicated to help all of the travel advisors. So that was the biggest thing.
Yeah. And having all of those resources that you're describing, having all of those things available, I suppose, ultimately helps you take better care of your customers and your guests.
Absolutely. So that was the biggest thing, is I wanted to make sure that when I started this up was that my name reflects well and KHM reflects well. So everything I'm doing also reflects on KHM. And that was the biggest thing for me, is I wanted to make sure I had support. I wanted to have the support to help start this up, the legalities behind it, and then also the support on, all these different suppliers.
Yeah. So, and that's really what it's about. I think that's, I talk to a lot of travel advisors, and one of the things that jumps out at me, when I not to say that the good from the bad, but the excellent from the average, is their mindfulness towards their customer. And so, in your world, you got a new client. I imagine you set up a video chat, or you set up a phone call with them. What are you trying to find out? Like, where does it start for you?
The biggest thing that started, like the first right off the bat, is I just want to get to know them. I just want to create that personal connection. Get to know them, person to person, not a company to person. That's my biggest thing, is in order for me to help them and create the best vacation for them, I need to know who they are. And not just like, here, just tell me what you want to book. I'll get it booked. We never talk again. I actually want to know who this person is.
Yeah. Do you ever get people who are surprised, maybe a first-time customer, and, they've booked before online, or they booked through, one of the big warehouses, and all of a sudden you start asking questions to
Mhm.
get to know them, and then they're surprised.
Absolutely. So that's the biggest thing is I've had a lot of customers that have come to me that have booked on agency websites where it's just they book it, they pay it, and it's advertised as a travel agency, but they never actually talk to anybody. And that's the biggest thing is, someone talks to me, puts in a quote request, and I'm calling them, I'm emailing, they're getting text messages. Like, I want to talk to this person. I want to know who they are. I want to know what their expectations are. That way I can create that best experience because I want them to come back. I want to create that best experience and that best name for myself and my company.
Yeah. So if your daughter or your son came to you and they said, "Hey, Dad, I want to become a travel agent,"
Mm.
and they're in a younger generation than us, and so maybe they tend to be more digital. They tend to like to do things through chat or through text messaging. Or what would your guidance be for them? Because I know a lot of the best agents, it's very personal, right? It's a lot of face to face, a lot of real live conversations.
Right. And that's something that I was kind of nervous about at first, was kind of reaching into that younger generation. But I've quickly noticed that most of my clients are in that younger generation now. I've had clients come up that are just turned 18 years old that want to book a cruise or book a vacation. And that's why I've opened up so many different resources to contact them. A lot of people don't like the face to face anymore, the phone calls. That's why I got the text messaging, the messaging, and that's the best way I can reach out to them. So, and I tell them, you can text me. That's perfect.
So that's interesting, right? Because I think a lot of maybe people older than you, people maybe older than me, would say that they don't do that. They stick strictly to face-to-face conversations or phone conversations because they're more comfortable. But if I'm hearing you correctly, you try and determine, which is a brilliant piece of advice here, you try and determine where the customer is the most comfortable,
Mhm.
and you tend to work with that.
Yeah, whatever they want to do. I can meet face to face, over the phone, text messaging. I've done a lot of bookings all over text and email. And that's just the best way. And we're texting back and forth. I'm learning about them and their experience that they want. Or, I'm on the phone with them for, a half an hour just trying to figure out, what their expectation is, what kind of vacation they want.
So I think there's a couple lessons in this part here. First of all, I think that's a huge takeaway for everyone who might be listening this and who's maybe new in the travel advisor space is it's not so much about what you want or what you're comfortable with. It's more about what your customer is comfortable with and try and adapt to that. The second part that you mentioned is has to do with, I think, this people are learning about us from their interaction with us more than they are from what we say.
Mhm.
And so when they see you adjusting and they see you giving them the information they want when they want it and asking those questions, I'm guessing if I was a customer, I'd be thinking, wow, if he's taking care of me now like this, it makes me feel really secure about how he's going to take care of me on the vacation, right? So is that part of what you think happens when you do this?
Absolutely. I've gotten so many referrals from, clients, families, friends, and that's solely based off of it is, I heard that you were around, you were there 24/7 for them. Like I even have a special phone number that I give to all of my clients.
Wow.
24/7. You call that number, it's going to be answered.
Yeah.
It is for, an after hours emergency because you never know. I want to be there anytime they have something going wrong.
Yeah.
And, I think that's just kind of the biggest disconnect with a lot of people these days is, they just want to do their thing, make the booking and that's the end of it. Like I want to create those relationships, long lasting relationships, and have them come back, get their family, their friends, everybody they know, because that's the best way for me to build my brand.
What you're saying reminds me of when COVID hit and we were dealing with so many cancellations. And there was a company in Latin America, they're actually part of Expedia. And they almost went out of business because people couldn't reach a live agent. People couldn't talk to someone. People were panicking
Mhm.
because and we've all been through that, right? You try and call somewhere and you're into that sort of voicemail oblivion where, you just can't get a hold of a real person.
Mhm.
And I think that's really part when you at the beginning of our conversation, you talked about the importance of getting to know people and the relationship. And that's one way you can judge the relationship, right? I mean, he
Absolutely.
answers my phone calls.
Right. And when I first set up my business phones, I had it set up where you call the number and you're getting an automated message of, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for that. Honestly, that I had that for quite a while. And then I started really looking at it. I was like, you know what? I want them to be able to call, and it just gives them a message. We're going to connect you, and it starts ringing to the phones. That way they're not, spending extra time. That way it's literally, I just called this number and someone's picking up.
Yep. So the name of your company has the word cruise right in it. Now,
Right.
now, some people don't do that. Some people like to have a very broad net, but obviously you've kind of specialized to some degree based on the name.
Right.
How important is that aspect of specialization, do you think, these days?
So that was something I was really looking at when I wanted to create my business is, do I want to specialize in something, cruises, all inclusives, or do I just want to just have a broad spectrum of just all vacations? I can do all of it. I do a lot of all inclusives, but my biggest thing is I want to hone in on those cruises. That way I can put 100% of my attention into that. I keep up on the latest trends, everything that's going on in the cruise world. It's easier for me to keep up on that than just a broad blanket of everything in travel.
Yeah.
So in order for me to hone in on just cruises, that ultimately turns into better customer satisfaction.
And so great comment. And as someone myself who works for a cruise line, we asked you what you're looking for in an agency. What are some of the things that help you determine whether or not a cruise line is a good partner for you to work with?
It's the support. It 100% comes down to, my business development manager, with the cruise lines. I want to be able to contact them, reach out to them. Hey, if I have a question, I'd like to call you. The biggest thing I hate is running into a problem, on a cruise booking engine, or, a customer has a question that I just don't know. It's not something that I've ever had deal with. It's kind of one of those 1 in a million things. And I hate, sending an email and waiting 24, 48 hours to hear back and then being the middleman. I just want to pick up the phone, call somebody and get an answer. I have, the support lines for every single cruise agency that I work with. And I can pick up that phone and get a hold of a live person. And that's the biggest thing for me. Also meeting my, the business managers with these cruise lines, doing seminars at sea. I love cruise lines that reach out to travel advisors and make sure that we're engaged, that we're connected with them.
Great. It kind of all goes together, right? Because if you're promising your customer that you're going to be responsive and you're going to answer their questions, it only makes sense that you're going to need to have a partner who, because it doesn't really help you if you get one of those calls and you need to solve something and now you have to wait 24 hours or 48 hours for a response. It puts you in a really bad situation where
Absolutely.
you can't help the customer. So that makes total sense. So I'm guessing that because you selected cruise, cruise can be very complicated. I think that's one of the reasons that cruise lines over-index using travel advisors, because there's so many sort of options and there's so many choices and there's so many, just look at the stateroom options that you have on so many ships.
Right.
So much to think about. Where do I want to be, and does this customer care if they're close to the elevator? Does this customer care if they're close to the pool? Once again, it's about understanding what the customer wants, but you have to know a lot about the itineraries and the ships too. So how do you keep up to speed with all that information?
So I'm honestly pretty much a cruise nerd. Like I am on my phone, on my computer 24/7 looking at, the new itineraries that are coming out. I get all the new itineraries emailed to me from the cruise lines, the new deployments. I literally have on the other side of this wall here, I have a giant pegboard and all of the everything's listed out there. of these are the cruise lines that are moving ships, because someone might call and say, hey, I want to go on the ship. I know it's out of, Port Canaveral, and I want to go on it next year. And, I start talking to them. I was like, okay, but then I find out, like, I just kind of look stupid. Like, I'm talking to them, and, the ship is being relocated to Galveston, Texas next year. So I just kind of set that false standard. So I want to be able, like, they're calling me and you're texting, emailing, and I want to be able to give them that 100% correct answer. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's my customer. I want them to come back. Like, that's the biggest thing for me.
Ironically, Cameron, I think your customers want that too.
Right.
I think they want an accurate answer too. So there you go. You guys.
Like, to be honest with you, I've actually lost some of my customers because of they're kind of looking for that automated process. They're like, hey, I want to book this and this. And I'm like, this is like, I contact them. This is their first cruise. So I'm trying to find out, hey, let's, do you normally get seasick? Have you ever been out on a boat before? If so, we need to have, this. Let's try and put you in the middle of the ship instead of at the front or the back. And there's some of them that are just like, this is too much. Like, I just wanted to call. I wanted to get something booked. And that's not me, because if something happens, they're going to be calling me, and I can't give them a good answer of why I just let that happen.
Don't change. I think that's the right path. And when I said earlier, that's the difference between a travel agent and a travel advisor to me. A travel agent is just going to take an order, just going to take whatever, even, I kind of use the extreme sometimes to make the point, but, if I called you tomorrow and I said, Cameron, I've got me and my wife, and we want to celebrate a very special occasion. It's our anniversary, and we've got 2 young kids. We got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And we were thinking about taking a river cruise in Europe, going down the Danube. You might be like, I don't think that's a good choice. You could maybe leave the kids home.
Exactly. For the 2 of you, perfect.
Yeah, but it's not a good choice for those kids that age. And you're gonna not only be miserable, the kids are gonna be miserable, and your guests around you are gonna probably be a little bit like tired of you.
Right. And I want to represent the cruise line perfectly. So now they're going to be upset with, whoever that cruise line was, that river cruise. Like, oh, there's, he said it was fine, for all of us to go, my 2 kids. And then I get there and there's nothing for the kids. He never even mentioned anything. Yeah. So that also falls on, me representing the cruise line, incorrectly. So all in all, it's a giant circle. I want to represent myself, KHM, my business, and, the supplier.
Yeah, of course. So you said earlier that you're a cruise nerd. But I'm just wondering how, I'm also assuming, since you also made the jump from corporate America at some point and decided to become a travel advisor, that thinking, and the fact that you sort of narrowed it down to cruise, you're kind of a fan of cruising yourself, I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how important is that, do you think, to be a fan, to be a cruiser yourself? I mean, do you think it'd be really difficult for someone who hates cruises to sell them effectively or to help people?
Absolutely. So my biggest thing is, if you're looking for a travel advisor, find somebody that specializes in that, and find a travel advisor that travels. There's so many travel advisors out there, or travel agents that are just booking this. They've never been on this certain ship. They've never even been to, into Mexico, and they're booking these vacations for people. How can they give an accurate description based off of just things they're seeing on the internet? That's my biggest advice. Book with a travel advisor that actually travels, that goes to those places, that are on those ships, and you'll have a great time. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah. And, even if you don't do some of the things that your guest wants to do, being aware that those things, like, I'll give you an example. When we cruise, my brother and I, we love trivia. So we're looking, now that's not for everybody. Not everybody likes that, but we love it. So we're looking at the calendar, the schedule, and we're picking all of our times. We're putting them in the app, so we love that. But you've got to know that even if you're not a trivia nut, you have to know that, oh, you like trivia? Oh, there's plenty of trivia. They do it here. Karaoke, they do this. It's even those little things. It's not just about the itineraries and the balconies or there's all this little nuance stuff that you need to know about. And I think only a fan is really going to be observant about that kind of stuff that's happening on the ship.
Right, and I think that's why like seminars at sea are so great for travel advisors. It gets us on the ship. You know, it has the staff there from the cruise line to go over everything. It is a giant information session, and I love them. I absolutely love them. You know, you're on a cruise. You have that vacation aspect and that learning aspect, and when you combine them together, for me, I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, we're having one next week, and then we're having one in April. We're having one in May, so we'll have to get you out on get you an invitation. I'll have to have Nazia get a hold of you and make sure you have that. We are at the end of our time, Cameron, so it went by fast.
Absolutely, yeah, that was very quick.
If someone wanted to reach you, if they liked you so much and they watched this and they said, you know, he was so wonderful, I would love to book my cruises with him, what's the easiest way for them to get a hold of you?
So our website is the easiest way. It's cruiseconquer.com, or you can just give us a phone call. It's 855-80-VACAY, VACAY. So, you know, I've set up, you know, the automation with the phones, you know, call us, or on the website, you can email us, text us. It has all of our information on our website, and that's cruiseconquer.com. Even gives you the text number.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. You're a great guest. And I think other travel agents who want to become advisors will benefit from some of what you shared with them today. So I really appreciate you being here, and I know they will too. So thank you so much, and we'll talk again. All right.